welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes the most valuable knowledge it's not the obvious stuff, it's the counterintuitive.
The things that really make you pause.
Exactly. And we love ripping open those complex psychological paradoxes to give you the insights you need to, navigate human dynamics. Today, we are deep diving into relationship psychology and specifically the dynamics of respect and attraction between men and women.
And this is a big one.
It is, because if you're one of those people who believes that, constant effort and just endless agreement are the keys to a stable relationship, well, you might want to get ready.
Your fundamental assumptions might get a little shaken today.
We've compiled some source material that tackles one of the most, well, frankly, confusing contradictions in attraction. We're going to unpack this premise. Why does a woman who will fight you tooth and nail if you deny her something, paradoxically save her deepest respect and even sexual attention for the man who firmly and calmly refuses her demands?
It sounds like a complete recipe for disaster, doesn't it?
It really does.
You're being told to just intentionally start a fight.
Yeah.
But this deep dive, it offers a really crucial insight. If you stick with us on this, you're not just learning a tactic. You're gaining a new lens for understanding the fundamental structural stability of male-female relationship dynamics. This is about psychological gravity, not, manipulation.
Okay, let's unpack this. So we have to start with the initial setup. Our source material frames the woman in this specific context as a contradictory animal.
And that phrasing, it's really just designed to highlight that emotional dissonance. On the surface, of course, she hates being told no.
Nobody likes that.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
But the source makes a very stark distinction in the ultimate outcome. It says she worships the man with the strength to say no and eventually comes to despise the man who just always says yes.
Despise. That is such a heavy word.
It's huge.
We aren't talking about a simple preference or, being annoyed. We're talking about a fundamental structural contempt creeping into the relationship.
And the emotional states that result are the key. Deep respect, strong sexual tension that only comes with the end man.
So the yes man just becomes what? Background noise.
He becomes sexually neutral, perceived as weak. And when a man is consistently compliant, agreeable, that whole psychological tension just collapses.
So, okay, this brings us to the central question. What is that word no, or in the original Korean source, andwe? What is it actually communicating in that moment?
Right.
Because a simple argument doesn't lead to respect. It usually just leads to a fight.
And that's the critical distinction here.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating is that the refusal is analyzed not as this external power struggle, but as an internal announcement.
An internal announcement.
Yeah. The refusal isn't really directed at her. It's a declaration about him. The source calls it a declaration of internal order.
Internal order.
Right.
Wow. Okay, let's pause on that idea for a second. That completely moves it away from just being stubborn, doesn't it?
Completely. It's self-definition. When the man says no, he's signaling something profound. He's saying, I have my own firm standards, my own world, and I am not willing to compromise that just because you're temporarily upset.
That stable internal setup, that order is the bedrock for respect.
It's the foundation.
Right.
If he is ordered, he can be a source of order for other people.
Okay, but wait, here's where the nuance is so important. How does he avoid just coming off as, rigid or selfish?
Yes.
What's the difference between the respected and no man and a guy who's just being a jerk?
That's the most important question, and the source is clear. The no man's refusal is calm. It's reasonable. It's rooted in his own established logical standards. Now contrast that with the yes man.
Okay.
His agreement is motivated entirely by fear. Fear of her reaction. He prioritizes avoiding her potential bad mood over maintaining his own structure.
So it's the compliance itself that signals the low value. He's basically saying my entire internal world can be abandoned because I am terrified of your temporary mood.
And that fear-driven compliance, that lack of internal order, is what makes him seem less valuable. If he sacrifices himself that easily for a small whim, what stability is he actually offering?
This brings us right to the sources.
Right.
Well, it's a perfect, compelling anecdote, the scenario that just lays this all out.
The late-night beach trip.
The late-night beach trip.
This is the ultimate high-stakes, unconscious test. So imagine the scene. A man has a huge professional commitment the next day, maybe the biggest meeting of the year. It's midnight.
Right.
And the woman insists, I suddenly need to go to the beach right now. I have to see the ocean.
Okay, let's start with the yes man. His internal monologue is just panic. He's thinking, she wants to go, I have to make her happy, I can't deal with her being disappointed.
So he grabs the keys, he's exhausted, he knows his meeting is going to suffer because he'll get maybe 4 hours of sleep, but he does it anyway.
And he thinks he's scoring points, being the good guy.
He thinks he's a hero, but the reality is it's devastating because the woman's unconscious interpretation is what really matters here.
She's not seeing a generous man.
No, she's seeing a man who prioritizes her fleeting emotional whim over his entire life's purpose, his professional duty.
And so her unconscious conclusion is, this man have no backbone. He's easy to manipulate. My feelings, even when they're totally unreasonable, are more important than his entire life plan.
And that conclusion leads directly to the core problem. A sharp, immediate drop in attraction. And this is the most damaging part, the start of contempt. That feeling the source calls,
Oh, that's the death now. Once contempt is there, respect is gone.
it's over.
That's a terrible long-term price for trying to be agreeable in the short term. Okay, so now let's flip it. Same beach trip. The no man.
The no man refuses. But, and this is so crucial, he has to do it calmly, with a firm justification that's based on his internal order.
So what does he say?
You might say something like, that sounds fun, but no. I have a critical meeting tomorrow and I have to be sharp. We need to rest. But let's plan on it for this weekend.
Okay, but what about her initial reaction? She's not a robot. She's got to be a little irritated, right?
Of course. That temporary annoyance, the source calls it yam, that's a totally natural surface level response.
Yeah.
She didn't get her way.
But underneath that,
Underneath it, the deep unconscious interpretation is completely different. Her subconscious is reading his refusal as, this man knows how to control his own life. Even when I try to shake him with my emotions, he holds his ground.
he protects his standards.
He protects his standards. And by protecting his own center, he's communicating that he is capable of protecting her.
That makes so much sense. That stability is what creates the security.
Exactly. And that feeling of security and trust leads directly to respect. Or yang an, the temporary annoyance that just fades. It's replaced by the feeling that she has a real anchor in her life.
This connects all the dots. So if these unreasonable demands, these midnight beach trips, if they aren't really about the beach, what are they? You said they're an unconscious test.
A stability test. That's all it is. And she might not even consciously know she's doing it. Her underlying question deep down is, if I throw emotional turbulence at you, will you be shaken? Are you more stable than I am in this moment?
And the outcome of that test just dictates the whole relationship structure.
Everything. The man who gets shaken, who gives up his sleep and his commitments, he's signaling he's actually less stable, more anxious than she is. He can't be relied on.
He can't be a foundation.
But the man who calmly holds his boundary, he's immediately seen as what the source calls a solid pillar, someone she can lean on. And that taps into a very deep psychological need for structure.
So let's delve into that need for a second. If her emotions can be, as the source suggests, disordered, what is she really looking for from him?
She's looking for a stabilizing force. The source uses the analogy of a giant rock.
Ah, I like that.
Her emotional life can be like intense, fluctuating waves. If the man is also like water or sand, they just become turbulent together. She needs him to be the immovable object that can stop and organize those waves. His internal order provides the architecture for their shared stability.
That analogy is incredibly powerful. It changes the entire conversation from being about power or manipulation to being about structural integrity.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Which brings us to the practical advice from all this. This isn't a license to just be difficult, is it?
No, absolutely not. The instruction is clear. Treat the woman well, be affectionate, be generous, but you must never surrender your own criteria, your own standards, just because you fear her temporary discomfort.
Your fear is the biggest signal.
It's the biggest signal of low value.
And we have to really hammer this home, the distinction between what the man should and should not fear. He shouldn't fear her being temporarily annoyed. That's minor. It passes.
What he should fear is the situation where she recognizes him as the easy man, the one whose standards just melt under a little pressure. That is what leads to that deep structural contempt.
And once that feeling sets in, it is almost impossible to reverse.
And it completely destabilizes the relationship.
So the core conclusion from this whole deep dive is just, it's completely counterintuitive. If you want to be genuinely loved, respected, desired, sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for the relationship is to firmly, calmly, and reasonably say no.
That refusal is an act of self-preservation, yes, but it's more than that. It's an act of stabilization for the relationship itself. It preserves his value, and as the source concludes, it ultimately stabilizes that emotionally turbulent energy within the man's established order.
And when that order is established, that's when the relationship reaches that state our sources describe, an essentially stable male-female relationship.
Stability is a byproduct of confidence and boundaries. not constant compromise.
What we've unpacked today really proves that attraction and respect, they aren't found in conformity or in, erasing yourself. They're found in the confident, calm control of your own life and your own standards. The strongest signal you can send to anyone isn't what you're willing to give up for them, but what standards you refuse to compromise within yourself.
It's a profound thought, and it really extends far beyond just dating. If maintaining your own internal order is the non-negotiable foundation of respect in this dynamic, it raises a really important question for you to think about.
Yeah.
What standards, whether they're professional, personal, emotional, have you been inadvertently sacrificing because you feared some temporary conflict? And what specific boundaries must you refuse to compromise starting today to fortify your own internal structure and establish yourself as that solid pillar, that internal shift? That's where true lasting stability begins.